anyone other than Billy the Kid, it might sound strange to ask, was this young man who killed so many people an outlaw or not? But in Billy's case, you might want to dig a little deeper into what motivated him to take such actions before you come to a conclusion. When you do, you might just come up with an answer you didn't expect. The story of Billy the Kid really does have a bunch of twists and turns. What do you think? Was he an outlaw or just a misunderstood youth?
So it really was a division of two sides here. Both sides had lawmen on it, and it just come down to a bloody battle to finish it off, which was a 7-day battle, and then of course the kid being killed, that finished everything off. That kind of closed the book.
I've been asked, was Billy a true outlaw, a misunderstood youth, an Old West original G gangbanger? I think he was a guy that was looking for the truth, that wanted, to have family and community.
Probably you could argue both sides of that. To understand that, I think you have to realize that he probably got into this territory at the age of 14. He was an orphan. Billy was an orphan. And he probably took up with anybody that would give him a meal or give him some comfort of company or a place to sleep.
It's known. Everybody knows that Billy the Kid stole cattle, stole horses. But that was, I think, after the war, after Tunstall was killed, and after most of the war was over, and he was doing that because he didn't have Tunstall's job anymore. He didn't have salary. He didn't have a place to stay. So I think he got involved in that stuff later on. I don't know, but that's what it seems like what I've heard.
I believe Billy the Kid was basically a product of his times. Really, was there a good side or a bad side? Really, you had two factions. So really, he was trying to do a good thing in a bad time.
He didn't get to grow up with his mom. She died early. His brother's gone. So when he met John Tunstall and the Regulators, he formed a family, okay? And family takes care of each other, especially in those harsh conditions.
He was avenging his employer's death, which at the time was kind of a common thing as it is.
He started out as a troubled youth, with a broken family, and he ended up with the McSween and Tunstall crew trying to work and be good, and that became his family.
Well, after living here in Lincoln, I understand exactly where Billy comes from. I still believe the Lincoln County War rages on to this day. So I believe he stood up for what he believed in. So I basically think he was a good guy.
And like I said, he was deputized. He was in the law. And then, of course, he took the law in his hands. And I think that's one of the things people see today. We're a bit discouraged that in front of us, we see lawlessness and no one will do anything about it. And when this young man really did, and he pulled the trigger, you can't pull that bullet back. These things happen. And a lot of people today, good, bad, or indifferent, think, well, we need some type of justice. And there is a difference between justice and punishment.
So really we're looking at it from, is he good or bad, which we can't really say that, because ultimately we're trying to make sense of something we don't understand, which was what was happening back then.
And once the war started, he went to war, and that's what they did back then. And he wore a badge for a while, just like the other Regulators did, just like their enemies did with the Murphy Dolan crew. And it's also well known that he stole horses and he stole cattle.
I think he was misunderstood in a way. He was just a kid trying to find a life and a future, and Tunstall brought him in and worked with him. And once Tunstall was killed, I think that put an anger to Billy and wanted what was right. Back then the law wasn't fair, and so he made it fair.
One day I was giving a tour here in Lincoln, and at the end of the tour, after I had given all the information to these basically young people, I said, so who do you say Billy the Kid was? Was he a good guy? Was he a bad guy? And there was about a 10-year-old boy that answered this question and gave the best answer I think I've ever heard. He said, I think Billy the Kid was a good guy in a bad circumstance.
Pat Garrett, originally from Alabama, had a couple of occupations during his time. Buffalo hunter, bartender, customs agent, to name a few, but Old Pat is most famous for being a sheriff. Most notably, Sheriff of Lincoln County. He also went down in the history books as being friends with none other than Billy the Kid. Let's see what others have to say about Pat and his connection to Lincoln County.
Pat Garrett, of course, he was the guy that killed Billy the Kid at Fort Sumner, as I like to say, probably with one lucky shot in the dark in Pete Maxwell's bedroom at Fort Sumner. We think he might have known Billy the Kid prior to him being sheriff, but were they bosom buddies? Not really sure about that.
So what I know about Pat Garrett is that he was sheriff of Lincoln and that he is credited with being the person who killed Billy the Kid.
Oh, I'd like to share just Garrett. I think, you know, being a famous lawman, of course, the badge he carries is the one of the Lincoln County Sheriff who killed Billy the Kid. But if you look back on Garrett, you know, he was a rancher. He was a lot more than just a sheriff himself. So I think when you look at all these people, especially like Garrett, especially like Pepin, if you look deeper than them just being a sheriff, I think you'll find out that they were carpenters, they were engineers, they were a lot of special talents that ended up in a fight for survival. So I think he gets thrown into that mix with all the rest of them.